I'm Mel Stewart, and this is SwimSwam podcast. Joining me today we've got swimming royalty. Today we've got a very, very special guest, a member of a family that has made an impact on the sport going back to the 1970s. They have deep, deep history. Today we have Christian Malmsten, the Chief Operating Officer of Malmsten, this a company that's been impacting the sport going back to the 1976 Olympic Games in Montreal, supplying lane lines and the official supplier of lane lines with FINA, now World Aquatics, since 2009. Thanks for coming on. How you doing?
Fine, thank you, and thank you for having me, Mel.
I'm a simple man, don't wanna complication, 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 people wanna, people wanna, people wanna complication.
This episode of the SwimSwam podcast is sponsored by Commit Swimming, SwimSwam's exclusive team management software partner. Since 2015, Commit has been providing coaches with swimming's leading workout management software. And now, Commit has team management software too. Commit wants to help you make the switch from Team Unify to a simpler, more powerful solution. Their onboarding and customer service team will walk you through every step of the way. Check them out at commitswimming.com to book your demo today. That's COMMIT swimming.com.
You're in Sweden. What time is it there?
Right now, I think it's 4:15 in the afternoon.
You know, this is the end of a day, and I'm sure you're working hard. I've been hearing about Malmsten my entire life, and it's the impact on the sport is pretty impressive. I think when you're an elite athlete, if you're as old as I am, you don't take it for granted, but I do think some athletes take it for granted. They don't, there's so much technology and design that goes into lane lines for moments that are at on the biggest stage in sport, world championships, the Olympic Games, and many, many other events. I wanted some time with you to go behind the scenes because I have a feeling that there's a whole lot that goes into the pressure and sense of responsibility to provide Malmsten lane lines for these events. And I appreciate you being here and letting us have some insight.
Yeah, once again, I'm really happy to be here and to be able to talk to you. And yeah,
Let's go back. Let's just wind it back to the 1970s. My understanding, this is truly a family affair. You're the chief operating officer. Your brother's the chief executive officer. Marcus Margareta, your mother is a co-founder with your father, Tommy, and they're now senior advisors. But this began around the dinner table, didn't it, in the 1970s? How did that start?
also it started. My father was a coach for the local swim club. He had lots of good swimmers, and he wanted the best equipment for his swimmers. So one of the first product was the Swedish goggles. And then afterwards, it became like the racing lane lines that have been developed several times over these past 50 years. I was only 5 years old when they started the company, so I was probably mostly in the way.
I wouldn't say that. I hear a lot about you. I hear that, I think the chief operating officer title is a tough title.
Yeah, but I didn't get it at 5 years old. That
You,
came later.
you had to earn it. You had to earn
Yeah.
it. I'm sure if anybody out there listening, a lot of our listeners are older and they have history in the sport. If you in the United States, if you were cool, if you were, you were in the in crowd, you wore Swedes. We called them Swedes, the goggles. And if not, you wore the gasket goggles. But my understanding is that, a lot of athletes had problems with reactions to the gasket, allergic reactions, and they would get these rashes on their face. And that's why the Swedes were designed. Is that part of it? Is that part of the history?
Yeah, that's part of the history. My father had a very good swimmer, Anne-Sophie Roos, and she was allergic to the neoprene around the goggles, and she wanted to stop swimming because she couldn't get any boyfriends because had red rings around her eyes, so she wanted to stop to swim. And luckily, her father was a tool maker for Ericsson, the ones that make mobile phones. And my father designed a pair of goggles and then manufactured them. And they became very popular. He gave it to many swimmers that were going over to the United States in scholarships. So we always call them Montreal because you had to put them together yourself. But after a while, they start calling them Swedes because it was always Swedish people having them, dealing them around the pool. Yeah.
It was a the allergic reaction to the neoprene was so common, and this was a solution that worked. They were also really sleek. They were just it was closer to the eye, but it was an innovation, and it seems like everything that improves a sport is innovation. If you look back at our sport going 50 years, oftentimes athletes are putting up faster swims, breaking world records because of new technology. And if I compare the lane lines that I grew up with when I was a child in the early 1970s, we had a string and a buoy about every 5 feet, and you stayed away from that lane line, because if you hit that lane line, it would create a gash. It could cut your skin. It was barbaric and brutal. And the lane line design rapidly improved. Um, so I know you were just a child. Can you give us some context and history about how Tommy and your mother got into the lane line business and what the reasons were?
Yeah. So one of the main reasons is that they're got the few lanes at the public pool, and the public that were swimming back and forth, they're complaining because the swimmers were generating the big waves and splashing around. So they were complaining. So my father took contact with Kiefer McNeil in the United States, and yeah, spoke to them and start in the beginning licensing, like producing on a license from them. And then quite quickly, we start manufacture components for the lanes, both for the European market and for the US market, like the take-up reel, the ratchet wrench, the spring. No, so that was like that for a few years, and then there came in a new owner, and the company was called Ritchie Industries, and we worked with them for over 30 years. In 1992, we developed new molds for the Barcelona Olympic. So we made the molds here in Sweden, and we sent them over to United States. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've got to stop you right there. So
Yeah.
my Olympics was 1992, and I know you were still young. You weren't the chief
Yeah.
operating officer yet. We're going way back in history. Do you remember? Do you have any context on like what was the difference, with the new design that you launched at the Barcelona Olympic Games?
So the new design, the major difference was that before the regulation said that we could have a diameter of 100 millimeters or 4 inch, and now we were allowed to do something that was 6 inch or 150 millimeters. So we greatly reduced the capabilities of taking up the wave energy by just increasing the size.
Wow. All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. That works. It's
Yeah.
when I think about landlines, I'll go to conventions and I'll look at product, and you compare these molds, and you compare the wire, and you compare everything in the product. There's a lot that goes into it, and you see the quality when you're sitting down and comparing it to other companies. It's This is a huge investment for swimming programs all across the world. It's a big investment, and I'm struck by Malmsten and how large the molds are and how sturdy they are, just the weight of them and the weight of the wire cord. And it makes me think of all those times as a child when we had to take the lane lines in and out and the durability. I was shocked when I found out how expensive they were, but it made sense because there's so much development, design, and product going into this product. Um, when you're developing, are what is the driving, what's the driver behind quality?
So I mean, we want a durable product that's going to last a long time and have the function there to absorb as much wave energy as possible. So it shouldn't matter if you're swimming on lane 4 or you're swimming on lane 7. You should have the same opportunity to win the race. Yeah, no, I mean, the environment is very big now. We do lots of research on what we can have in the plastic to make it last longer, UV stabilizer, color fastness, antioxidants. There's many components that needs to be in there for a product to last a long time and look good and work.
It's a it's a company with a very, very close relationship to World Aquatics, which we've known as FINA for a very long time. World Aquatics is, of course, the swimming arm of the International Olympic Committee, the international governing body. So you all have had your run at many Olympics since being the official supplier. Uh, and we're going to be throwing up some media as we're talking to show Olympics going back to London 2012, Tokyo, Rio, Paris. And we should take this moment to say that you're the official supplier going into the Los Angeles Olympic Games in 2028. So my understanding is that a lot of the responsibility for prep for the Olympics falls on your shoulders. Is that correct?
That's correct. It's a team effort. We have lots of dedicated co-workers and together we I think do a very good job to be prepared and because I mean it doesn't matter that we have done 11 Olympics. We're just going to be as good as the last one. So I mean it's always important that we don't lose focus. We don't want to leave anything to yeah, some unknown factors. We want to be prepared if something should happen. Until now, yeah, we have been blessed with no problems and yeah, small adjustments and everything have been good.
Well, take me to, the Paris Olympics. How soon does the process start for supplying the landlines to the most recent Olympic Games?
I mean, as soon as we find out where they're going to hold Olympic Games, then we start to try to find out who's in charge. We always try to work close with in this case, the French Swimming Federation. So I think 6 or 7 years before the Olympics, we were a sponsor for the French Swimming Federation. We were at all their national events, making sure that everything went well. Then leading up, we have close contact with the architects, making sure that, yeah, all the little details that no one really thinks of, but and then there was 3 test events leading up to its the Olympic Games. So we know the things are there, they're working, and then of course we're there during the Olympics in case something would happen. We're there ready to act, and
I'll put it in this context. If we have, if I'm going to the Olympics, I remember that Speedo was my sponsor, and I had like 25 swimming suits in my bag in case something went wrong. Which was absurd. How many sets of lane lines do you have as a backup? Do you have backups? Do you come with do you have a warehouse of backups?
no, I mean, until now we have never needed to use a backup. We like to be safe, so we have. In this case, in Paris, we have one of each color. So basically 3 50-meter lanes that are standing ready on a storage trolley. We have trained the personnel. So if something should happen, they will not just stand there and not knowing what they should do. Then they know what they're doing. And it's the same for water polo. If something should happen, there's extra things that we could replace it quickly.
This is
But
something
I
that
should touch wood now, because
what
until now we have not had to use it. But I mean, the first time we don't have a backup or something, that's when something will happen.
it's a if you're familiar with your product, with your lane lines, this is a sturdy product. This is a high quality, um, durable, and I wouldn't think that you would have a problem ever, because of that fact. Uh, but it is funny. I was thinking, it's like, do you have do you have backups just in case? Because the responsibility is on your shoulders. I just thought it was funny. Let me talk to you about this. We focus on the Olympic Games, and as we should. It's fun. There's a lot of fanfare and grandeur, and a lot of people see the sport, and but this partnership with World Aquatics is robust. I'm assuming, I don't know. I don't know what your contract is, but I'm assuming being an official supplier is actually a huge responsibility. How many sites are you visiting, and how many test events are you doing, and how many what does that involve? How often are you having to send lane lines all over the world?
So we send lane lines all over the world often. We don't go to all the events. We go to all the major events. So now the swimming World Cup that's going on right now
Shanghai.
in Shanghai, and also Icheon in Korea, and later Singapore. We have sent lane lines there. We have local representatives at the location making sure, but we personally, we don't go there. So we go to the World Championships, and if it's something special, because otherwise we would do nothing else than travel. There's always some swimming competition every weekend around the world. And then we do water polo, we do open water, and now we have started with diving too. So yeah, it's a full schedule.
Are you telling me you're busy? Are you a little bit busy?
A little bit.
Well, it's everyone. If you're familiar with the product, you know how durable it is, and that this is something that you can depend on, and you'd have to see it compared to everything else in the marketplace. The but you This Olympics was a little bit more like a normal Olympics. The last Olympics in Tokyo was the pandemic Olympics. If you talk to anybody, they're like, yeah, it was the pandemic Olympics. It was odd.
Yeah.
What sort of hurdles did you have to deal with, considering, you had to manage your company through COVID, and you had to manage through the COVID bubble? How was that different? How did that affect Malmsten and supplying the 2020 Olympic Games in Tokyo?
Yes, I think COVID was hard for everyone. I think we did very well going through COVID. And swimming, yeah, it was still going. There was some events that was being held like in the bubble. The same concept, like you could be at the hotel and there were special buses taking you from the hotel to the swimming pool. So we had some training before coming to the Tokyo Olympics 2021. But yeah, it's different. I think it's a little sad. You come to a place like Tokyo and you want to see the city, you're not allowed. You're allowed to be in your hotel room and the swimming pool, and you have to take a special COVID taxi. But I mean, this is part of the deal. We have to be there. I think the people that were mostly affected were probably the athletes that wouldn't have or didn't have the support from the audience. So I felt more a little sorry for them. They've been training their whole life, and this is the highlight, and probably not the way they dreamt of, you know. They probably had a dream with the stands full of people cheering for them, you know. So a little sad, but I think they executed it very well. Nice facilities, but just missing some audience.
It sounds like it presented some complications, but mostly it was you couldn't fully immerse and enjoy a traditional Olympic Games.
No, that's correct. Was different, you know. Yeah, but for us, no, it was more or less the same. But I think, yeah, the swimmers or yeah, water polo play, I guess all the athletes were the ones affected the most by this.
When you're part of a family that's been so entrenched in the sport of swimming, and you get to be a part of world championships and the Olympic Games, you know, what are some of your favorite moments from the Paris Olympics? Did you meet the cap retrieval guy, that guy that walked out in a little Speedo and retrieved the cap? Did you get to meet him?
No, I didn't get to meet Bob, unfortunately, in the funky trunks. So everyone was talking about, but no, I unfortunately I missed it and I didn't get to meet him afterwards. I think he went hiding somewhere. I don't know. Everyone were looking for him, you know.
Did you have a favorite moment from Paris?
I think now I'm from Sweden, so of course I think it's nice when Sarah takes a gold medal. You know, that's special. The whole arena uh, are cheering, and like the hairs on your arms stand up. No, it's fantastic, and that's something you didn't feel in Tokyo, for example. I mean, you didn't get that feeling. Even though there were many good swims there too, but yeah, not the whole atmosphere. Um, so yeah, that was different.
Well, her fame and the love that people have for her transcends Sweden. It is felt everywhere. She has a lot of fans all over the world. I know in the United States she does. And she's in our upcoming Olympic Year in Review issue as Her Majesty Sarah Sjöström. That's the title. She's really earned the title. Well, I'm sorry you didn't meet Bob, the cap catcher. That disappoints me a little bit. I was hoping you might have had a moment with
Had
him.
some good stories. No, unfortunately.
Well, it's I noticed in Paris that just it just came to me that the colors changed, the lane colors changed. That's for the first time in a long time. Why?
No, it was to try to make it more spectacular, something different for legacy, um, make it a little different. So we actually tested it first, of course, with approval of World Aquatics in Doha for the World Championships in February. where we used some new color combinations that went in hand with their colors. And then the same thing with Paris, the red, white, and blue, bleu, blanc, rouge. So they wanted the French color of the French flag. So then we sat down. So we did that for swimming, and we also did it for water polo, changing it up. And so World Aquatics have opened up for new color combinations, but yeah, it has to get approved first. You can't go crazy. So I mean, they will approve it if it's possible or not. Which, I mean, it's interesting. It's something new. When you see pictures from Paris Olympics where you see the lanes, then you know, okay, it's easier to identify maybe if it's more unique. You know where those pictures were taken without having the writing.
It's a when I talk to elite athletes, and I talk to anybody who any of my Olympic peers, anybody who has Olympic medals, and I say, Malmsten, they know one thing. And do you want to guess what that one thing is?
Lane lines?
No, it's the strength of the lane lines. All the elite athletes know that this lane line is so well designed and so strong that you can sit on it and do your celebration at the end.
Yeah.
And that and and everyone says, well, it's designed to be a landline that you can finish if you break a world record or have a big moment. You can jump up on the landline and throw your arms in the air, and it's
Yeah.
okay. I always thought that was a fun fact that so when did Malmsten say, hey, we need to make a landline strong that so that athletes can do this? Because that wasn't always a part of what we
No.
did in swimming.
No, so the pool guards always told you don't sit on the lane lines. So right now our stainless steel wire takes up to 2,500 pounds, so it's very strong, and I don't get nervous when one swimmer is celebrating. I can feel it a little in my stomach when I see 7, 8 water polo players sitting on it. But we never, now I'm going to touch wood again, but we never had a lane line break. I know one time for European Championships, I got the call in Budapest that the lane line broke. We went there quickly, we looked, but actually it was the anchoring point that came out of the wall. It was an old pool. So we had to help them fix it, but the lane line, it's a scare because I'm scared coming there and there's going to be 600 plastic details floating around in the pool. So we don't want that to happen. We want
But
them to stay on the wire.
but let's make this very clear. Your product didn't break. The wall
No,
broke. It broke out
yeah,
of the wall. So
yes,
the lane line was stronger than the wall of the pool. And
yes,
that's a great distinction. So that must have been a big relief for you when you learned that.
yes, that felt good. At the same time, you want to help them because it was like during the lunch break, and yeah, the athletes kind of come back, so we have to fix it somehow. So it's a team effort, like you have the local organizers, so all decks, all hands on deck, like fix the problems. So like, yeah, you're not going to see it on TV or anything. Like the show goes on.
I'm old enough to remember the 1980 Olympic Games in Moscow, which the United States boycotted. And my understanding is that Malmsten provided those landlines. Is that correct? To the
That's
games, and
correct.
that's Malmsten was there. So, they're everywhere. But I bring it up because I was a child at the time, and I lost heroes. Our heroes from our nation. We didn't have a new generation of heroes, and there was worry that the Olympic Games would lose its value and lose its grandeur and gravitas on the world stage. And the 1984 Olympics was a very successful Olympics. I think the same emotion happened after the COVID Olympics. I think people were concerned, hey, do people care about this as much? Is it as relevant? And I think that those fears were put to rest because Paris was a great Olympics. We had twice the viewership, and now we're very optimistic about the Los Angeles Olympic Games. And it should be, if it's anything like the 1984 Olympic Games, we should see a big increase in terms of viewership. So when we're sitting here, it's 2024. We just packed up Paris. What, are you already thinking about Los Angeles 2028? What's the next 4 years hold? How are you going to manage that?
Yeah, now we have a company in the United States, Malmsten Inc., that will, yeah, we have boots on the ground over there in the US that's going to work closely with it. We already have the red, white, and blue color scheme from Paris. No, we can do something else, of course, but no, it's going to be super exciting. 84, my father was a coach for the national swim team of Sweden, and he brought home a Coca-Cola bottle, like a special edition with Eddie the Eagle or something, I think. So I still have it in my bookshelf, you know. It's also a good memory, Olympic.
Well, to add some context to this, your father coached Michael Orn, and he goes by Mike Orn here in the United States. And he heads up Malmstrom in the United States. I think it might be North America. Is that correct? Is it? I don't know if it's the United States or if it's North America.
North America.
North America, and
From what you were saying.
he's an Olympic medalist from Sweden. Had a long, very impressive career. But even when he was an athlete, before he had won his medals, he swam for your father, and he was one of those athletes who came over here with a suitcase full of Swedes and was like the most popular man on the pool deck because he was the man with the Swedes. But it's interesting that you have that much of a connection in history with someone who swam for your dad, carried the Swedes over here, and went on to win Olympic hardware and is now heading up Malmsten North America. And I guess to really dot the I and cross the T, he's within driving distance. Their warehouse is within driving distance of Los Angeles. They can get there fast.
Yeah.
And he's very excited about this moment. It feels a little bit of pressure, but also, according to my conversations with him, feels a lot of support from you. It's a so this is a big moment for Malmsten having really launching this company in North America with boots on the ground. How often do you talk to Mike?
So we talk every week, and then we have some set meetings. Like every second meeting, we have product development because he comes with suggestions, products that he sees a need for, or he sees a problem or a challenge or something in the United States that we don't really see here in Sweden. That maybe the concrete around the pool in Arizona, for example, it's very hot, so you would burn your feet. So I mean, small things. Can we do something about this? So it's interesting, and it's easy that we just look at our market here. But I mean, now we get feedback from different places around the world, and can try to find solutions or things to improve.
When I talk to me about open water, and so what are how does it change when you're servicing open water? What's the difference between working with? It seems very obvious to me as somebody who competed in the pool, but what are you doing in open water?
Yeah, open water, it's in a lake, in the ocean, sometimes in rivers. So we don't have lane lines there. We used to have lane lines, but now we have developed for World Aquatics the finishing funnel. So we do that inflatable because that gives them opportunity to put advertisement on there. We're looking at other developments to make it a little more interesting. Because if you're sitting in the audience and there's a swimmer 1,000 yards out, you don't see what's happening. So maybe more with split times. Now they have drones, so you can follow with. So yeah, there are some developments, some new products that is going to come.
You're a great partner if you're helping World Aquatics with their engagement and their excitement in the sport. You're developing products that they can showcase who they are. That's
And I mean, I think that's good for the sport too. We want to grow the sport of swimming, open water. So I think everyone benefits. If they can get some more money in from sponsors for open water, that will help grow the sport and hopefully the interest. Yeah, so it's a win-win, and if I'm there helping them to develop product, okay, so that's what I think a partner should be. It should be give and take, and it helps us as a company also to have that contact with, the leading organ for aquatics, so that we get that feedback, and that's how we can become better and always be on the front line.
well, if I'm going to be in Los Angeles with my spouse and my team, the question is, will you? Because you don't have to be there. Mike's there. Are you attending the Los Angeles Olympic Games?
Oh, I have to, right? I don't want to miss it.
Well, I'm sure I'll see you before then, but I hope to see you there as well. And is there anything that I didn't cover that you would like to mention? Do you have a favorite Olympics? You've been to so many. Is there a favorite Olympics that you've been to?
No, I mean, I like them all. They're good in different ways. When I was 17, I lived in Brazil for 1 year. So I speak Portuguese. So I stayed for the Rio Olympics. I stayed there for 5 weeks. So I think that's maybe my favorite. It's very probably the least organized Olympics, but the people are very nice, and we solved everything, and it's just was a very nice Olympic Games.
It was Michael Phelps' final Olympic Games. That was his send-off. It was an exciting Olympic Games, but I did not know that. That was unexpected. And how funny. So you spend time there, you speak Portuguese, and okay, I love it. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us, and I hope you come back if there's new information or anything you can share as we draw near to the Los Angeles Olympics, because I feel like we're far out, but we're going to blink and it's going to be here. You're going to have some more gray hair, and I'm going to have some more gray hair, but we'll be closer. So will you come back and talk to us?
Yeah. No, and now the people in the United States maybe hear this and they wonder, where can you buy these great lane lines? It's from Malmsten Inc. in Arizona, in Phoenix. They deliver all over United States, and it's Michael Owen and Simon Percy, also a swimmer that's in charge of that operation, and they'd be happy to help you to get the best lane lines in your pool.
Simon is a peer. We went to almost all the same national team trips together during our time in the late 1980s and 1990s. So both gentlemen heading up Malmsten North America have deep roots in swim. I'm going to put all of the links in the show notes. If you're curious and you're like, hey, I finally I got to commit to Malmsten lane lines, then you're going to know where to go. Christian, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Mel, for having me. Thank you.
You've been listening to the SwimSwam podcast. Stay tuned for new episodes every week. You can take SwimSwam podcast on the go by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Look for links in the description below, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos as well.